Morning, everybody. Hope the conferees had a good evening. Didn't hear anything on the police scanner that I keep by my bed, so that's good. Well, we want to welcome you to St. Norbert College. This is the fourth Sport and Society program that St. Norbert College has hosted in conjunction with our partners, the Green Bay Packers. And I want to thank all of you for coming. This program, in our experience, has been unique among academic conferences, and we are delighted to be able to host it again. And we're especially thankful to the Packers. Many of you got to hear from their president and CEO, Mark Murphy, yesterday afternoon, what I thought was a fascinating conversation. And Mark in particular was the one that we came to the Packers, I guess it was 6 years ago. We have run these every other year, and he was immediately excited about the prospect. And I suspect, frankly, there's no other professional organization, sports organization in the country, maybe in the world, that would be open to this kind of a thing. There's no real upside for them, and you can get into some pretty controversial topics, but Mark, who is a very educated person himself and of course worked at two fine academic institutions, was all about it, and we're very appreciative for the Packers' ongoing support and for the partnership of Aaron Popke from the Packers and other folks with the organization. So please, how about a hand for the Green Bay Packers organization, if you would? And of course, I think you're going to be spending tomorrow at Lambeau, which, if you've never been there, is everything that you would imagine it would be. So you're going to have a lot of fun and terrific conversations while you're out there. Also want to just welcome you to St. Norbert College. We have been around since 118 years in this beautiful little spot on the banks of the Fox River. Hope you get the opportunity at some point during the program to get out and walk the campus a little bit. It's a beautiful place, and we're always happy to have visitors. It's my pleasure to turn the podium over to my friend and colleague, Tim Bald. Tim is our athletic director, has done a wonderful job. You might think we're Division III, which is non-scholarship, and you might think that means that we don't have a lot of the headaches that Coach Alvarez and other folks in sort of the big-time college athletics have to deal with. But the fact is that we deal with athletic issues an awful lot here. They may be of a little different scope or scale than our friends down at Madison, but they're persistent and important and impacting on our students nonetheless. And so Tim does just a fantastic job, incredibly conscientious, and we have a program that is the envy, I know, of our conference and of a lot of Division III schools around the program, and that's not an accident. Tim is going to introduce our special guest this morning, so with that, please welcome Mr. Tim Bald. Tim?
Thank you, President Kunkel, St. Norbert College faculty, staff, and administration, conference attendees, and guests. Good morning and welcome to the campus of St. Norbert College and the 2016 Sport and Society Conference covering the topic, the business of college sports. My name is Tim Bald, as Tom said, and I serve as the Director of Athletics here at St. Norbert College. This year's conference highlights an impressive list of speakers and panelists, and there are many enthusiastic presenters eager to showcase their material. But to get things started, I have the honor of introducing this morning's keynote speaker, the Director of Athletics at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, Mr. Barry Alvarez. While I am completing my 12th year here at St. Norbert College, I had the pleasure of working the previous 6 years of my career at the University of Wisconsin with Barry, while he was the head football coach, and I served as the Assistant Director of Athletics for Compliance for the Department of Athletics. I know exactly what you're all thinking. Compliance Director, football coach, major Division I institution. Strange bedfellows, right? You've never seen coaches dive into their offices or walk in the other direction so quickly as soon as the position of the compliance director comes walking down the hallway. I guess one could compare the position of compliance to that of a dentist or a proctologist. You never want to spend time with them, but they're there if you need them. However, Coach Alvarez never made me feel that way. In fact, my very first day on the job, he invited me down to his office to get to know me, make me feel comfortable, and to let me know if I ever needed him, there'd be no interference, no red tape. I would have immediate access whenever I needed it. I always appreciated that. While I did make his life interesting at times during those 6 years, I admired the working relationship he offered me because, as you can imagine, it was not always that way with all the coaches. So if I never had the opportunity to say it when I was down in Madison, thanks, Coach, I appreciate that. Barry Alvarez is a 1969 graduate of Nebraska, of the University of Nebraska, where he played linebacker and went on to earn his master's degree. Following stops at several high schools, the University of Iowa, and Notre Dame, Alvarez arrived in Madison in 1990. Over the next 16 seasons, Alvarez transformed the football program and subsequently the culture of athletics at the University of Wisconsin. The list of his accomplishments is remarkable. Consider just a few of the most notable. He's the winningest coach in school history with a record of 119, 74, and 4. He coached 3 Big Ten and Rose Bowl champions. He's the only Big Ten coach ever to win the Rose Bowl in consecutive seasons, and he's just the 10th coach in Big Ten history with 100 victories at one conference institution. Barry guided UW to back-to-back Big Ten titles in 1998 and 1999, a feat that had not happened at Wisconsin since the 1896-1897 seasons. He coached 4 of the 5 winningest teams in school history and was named National Coach of the Year in 1993. Barry Alvarez was named the Director of Athletics in 2004, and he served in both capacities as AD and head football coach the next 2 years. Following the 2005 season, he retired from coaching to concentrate solely on running the Division of Intercollegiate Athletics. Wisconsin has enjoyed remarkable success during Alvarez's tenure at the head of the department, winning a combined 14-team national titles and 53 conference regular season or tournament crowns since he took over. Wisconsin has finished at least 22nd in the NACDA Directors' Cup 6 times, and 6 different programs have won national titles, including 4 in the magical season of 2005-2006. On the academic side, more than 1,000 student athletes have earned academic All-Big Ten honors, and Wisconsin has had at least 1 Capital I academic All-America pick for 35 consecutive years. That ties the UW with Georgia and Bucknell for the 2nd longest streak in the nation. Now, Barry, I imagine the next time that you're scheduled to be back in the Green Bay area is on Saturday, September 3rd, when the Badgers host Louisiana State University in a game at Lambeau Field. It's kicking off at 2:30 p.m. and televised nationally on ABC. I'm not sure if you heard, but ABC was very concerned about that kickoff time in regards to attendance. You see, St. Norbert College also has a home game that day. Yes, the Green Knights are hosting the Pointers from the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. Our game kicks off at 1 p.m. Despite many hours of negotiations to get us to change our kickoff to 11 a.m., the executives from ABC finally gave up and said they just hope our game does not go into overtime. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my sincere pleasure to introduce the coach, Mr. Barry Alvarez.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Certainly an honor and a pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with you today here at St. Norbert's, and what a beautiful campus you have. This is the first time I've been on campus, and it's very impressive. As you can imagine, I have the opportunity to speak to a number of different groups, organizations, companies. And the thing that I've found out over the years that regardless of what type of company, what type of organization you have, running a successful business really is no different than running a successful football team, athletic team, or an athletic program. It's about getting a group of people working together to achieve one common goal. My success experience as a football coach subsequently led me to oversee the athletic director's job in 23 sports, and all that does is reinforce my beliefs that what we did in football really has no difference in running an athletic program. So what I thought I'd do is share some of my thoughts and ideas, some of the things that I believed in, the principles that guided us through the athletic program, or the football program to the athletic program, that I think carry over to a lot of different organizations. As Tim mentioned, I came to Wisconsin in 1990, having been at Notre Dame, and I think we won 25, 26 games. We were first and second in the country those 2 years, and had the opportunity. And if you think back to 1990, Wisconsin was not the Wisconsin it is today. I think we won 5 games in the previous 3 years, really hadn't had a lot of success. Quite frankly, the athletic program was flat on its back. It was bankrupt. And the football program, as well as the basketball program, was really in bad shape. So when I was offered the job, I went to Lou Holtz, who was my head coach at Notre Dame. I went to Ara Parseghian, someone I respected, former Notre Dame coach who was in town in South Bend. I went to Hayden Fry, who I worked with at Iowa, and I asked all three what they thought of the Wisconsin job. Is it a good idea for me to take the Wisconsin job? And to the person, they said, don't take the job. They gave me every reason why you couldn't win. It's cold. You have to recruit in the South. You have to go to warm weather states to recruit. Their winters are brutal. The facilities aren't very good. They have never had very good support by their administration. They gave me all these different reasons. Well, I saw things a little differently. I'm a glass half full guy. I took the job, and 3 months later I called Coach Holtz and I said, Coach, you have underestimated the situation. It's a hell of a lot worse than even you told me. But the thing that you have to do when you take over a losing program, you have to change the culture. You have to change how people go about their day-to-day business. You change the attitude with everyone associated with the program. You have to teach people how to win. And that starts with the first people you see. First people I saw, I walked into the office, we have 2 secretaries sitting there, both of them in jeans and sweatshirts smoking a cigarette. That's not quite the impression that I wanted to send, and the attitude that I wanted, or what I wanted people to see as representing us. I didn't want them to represent us that way. So it starts there, and it starts with how your offices are run, how clean they are, how are they painted, are they fresh, how people are presented. It means everyone who touches the program has to understand what you want. That's trainers, that's people in the cafeteria, that's custodians. Anyone who touches the program has to understand what's expected of them. When you take over a program like that, or you take over a program, first thing you have to do is have a plan to win. How am I going to be successful? What am I going to do? How can I win here? How can I go about my business? And the thing I learned working for Lou Holtz and Hayden Fry, 2 totally different philosophies of how they went about their business. Hayden Fry, very strict in the day-to-day operations, even though, he had the white pants and the sunglasses, and he said corny things, and, it was always corn-pone country. You'd think he was a flim-flam man, but he was very strict. Yet, on the football side, he'd rather trick you. He's a psychologist. He'd rather trick you than run it down your throat. He would never allow good players to play, starters to play against starters. He had a philosophy that he wanted you to leave the field every day. He wanted his starters to walk off the field every day feeling confident in themselves. You could never put a starting tackle, offensive tackle, against a starting defensive tackle because one of them had to lose. That's what he felt. That's the way he believed. Was he successful? Absolutely, because everybody bought into it. Everyone bought into it. I go to Notre Dame, and it's totally opposite. Lou wasn't quite as strict, wasn't strict at all, as a matter of fact, in his day-to-day operations, yet practices and with his players, it was always a challenge. His philosophy, how can you get better if you don't challenge people, if you aren't challenged every day? And I'd never want to play quarterback for him because his philosophy was, I'm going to make it so miserable on my quarterback that game day is going to be easy. And that's the way he went about his business. Successful? Absolutely. Both Hall of Fame coaches. So that tells me there are a lot of different ways to get the job done as long as it's sound, as long as everyone understands how you're going to get it done. You have to be sound in your plan. The first thing you must do is do a great job of communicating with your staff and everyone involved what's expected. What's expected of them, what their duties and responsibilities are, and how you're going to hold them accountable. And this is how we're going to operate our program. And this is how you're going to fit into it. Make the expectations clearly, very clear. Define roles. This is very important. I used to do it, I can remember standing on a stage just like this every year during two-a-days. You got 120, 140 players sitting out there, and talk to them about their roles on the team. Some of you are going to be starters, some of you are going to be alternates, you're going to be going in and out. Some of you are going to be backups. You have to be prepared if someone is injured. Some of you are going to be just going down on kickoffs. And you know what? That's very important. In a group of you, you have to run the scout team. You're probably not going to play in any games. You know what? That's important. Because if you don't do a good job, how are we going to be prepared when we play that week? Your role is really important to the success of this team. Accept that role. Know that it's important. When I talk to my staff at the beginning of the year, we meet in the Kohl Center, approximately 400 employees, from custodians, secretaries, head coaches, assistant coaches, trainers, every person in the department. And the one message that I want to get across to them is the same one that I got across to the football team. Whatever your responsibility is important to the success of this team. And we're all counting on you to do your job well and to do it better than anybody else can do it. When we have success, you had something to do with it. The floors were clean. The field was ready. You did a great job in getting letters out. Whatever, you took care of the players. You do a good job. We have success. All of us had something to do with it. It's important to get that message across. Pay attention to detail as you prepare. Pay attention. Don't take anything for granted. Dot the I's, cross the T's. You know, as a football coach, the week before our first game, I'd go through a mock game. And I'd start on the bus from the time you're going to the hotel, from the hotel to the stadium. Tell the players how I want it, the attitude on the bus. I want a quiet bus. Tell the bus driver he can't talk. Where you're going to sit in the locker room, how much time you have in the locker room, when you're going to get taped, when you're going to take the field, how long we're going to be on the field, when we come back, where you go, how much time you have to go to the restroom before we go back out, and how we parcel our team. When we take the field, where you sit. Who's going to travel with me? You got a travel squad, and everybody's going to sit. The offense is you face the bench, offense is here, defense is here, and you're sitting by positions. Because if you don't do that, as you walk up and down the field as a coach, you turn around, you got 120 guys walking with you. 120, you can't find anyone. Take your helmet. Where's your helmet go? On your head or in your hand? My rule for that, I take the time to go over that because my first game as a high school coach, I send a kid in a game, he gets to the hash mark, he stops, he says, "Coach, where's my helmet?" How the hell do I know where your helmet is? I haven't been watching it. I'm not going to let that happen again. Dot the I's, cross the T's. When we go to bowl games, I always have a thing, we're going to win everything as a team. You're going to be there a week, and you're going to do all these different functions with the other team. And I want to win every function we do. at the noon lunch, and I'm going to speak better than the other coach. The wives have a lunch, and I tell my wife, you have to speak better than that coach's wife does. I'm going to hold you accountable for that. We have different matches. Sometimes you have a key line eating pie contest. I tell my guys, find me a backup O-lineman or a second team. I don't want a guy that's a scout squad. I don't want a starter doing this. But I want somebody that can eat a lot because he's going to win that contest. You go to the Rose Bowl, you do the Lowrys. How many pounds of prime rib? We're going to find a way to win that. So one year we're going to the Rose Bowl. We're going to play UCLA. I know we go to Lowry's. I want to look better than UCLA looks. A lot of media there. Traditional thing. So I'm thinking, my tackles are Chris McIntosh. Max 6'6", 315 pounds. The other one's Aaron Gibson. Gibby's 6'7", 400 pounds. They can't find a sport coat. You can't get them a sport coat that fits. So I said, you know what? We have X amount of dollars. I'm going to get every guy on this team a blue blazer. Fit them up for a blue blazer. And when we go to Lowry's, we'll walk in there and we'll go in there in these blue blazers and we'll be sharper than they will. We'll do, and I know what UCLA is going to wear. They're going to wear these powder blue, feminine, warm-up suits when they leave the bus. We're going to win. So we have practice. We get ready to go. Call team up. Say, listen, 5:30, meet down to the bus. Wear your blue blazers today. We'll look better than UCLA. Let it start walking off. McIntosh grabs me. He says, Coach, we've got a problem. What's the problem? We have 6 guys that didn't bring their blazers. You got to be kidding me, Mac. What the hell are they thinking about? Coach, you didn't tell them to pack the blazers. You know what? That's on me. I forgot to tell them to pack the blazers. I bought them for them. I had the idea of why we're going to wear them, when we're going to wear them. I didn't tell them to pack them. So they had to wear ties so they look nice too. But that's just an example. Don't take anything for granted. Your culture of winning is taught 365 days a year. The way you do things every day, how you go about your business. And if I'm talking to players, it's going to class. It's doing the things you're supposed to. If you're supposed to be in study hall, you'll be at study hall. If you're supposed to eat a certain way, we have a certain diet set up for you, you do it that way. The same things with our organization now. You be on time. You do the things that you're supposed to do. When you take care of all those things, you'll win on Saturday. It's not just about showing up in a great pregame speech and you go out and you win. It's how you prepare and how you live your life every day, which determines if you win. Accountability. Have rules. One of the biggest questions I hear all the time, Coach, what was it like? What's the difference between today and when you first started coaching? How would you change? How has coaching changed? I don't think it has changed. When I finished coaching, I coached the same way as I did before. Now, players do know more. They're more aware, and I think they have more decisions to make with social media, certainly. But they want to be treated fairly, and they want consistency. Be fair, be consistent. They want to win. They want to win. They want to know that they're prepared better than, or at least as well as, the people that they're playing across from. Chemistry. Teach the team concept, and I think that's one of the harder things we have today. We have a me and I society. It's about me. So many of your individual sports players, they've got their individual coach. If that coach isn't coaching them the way they want it, and they change coaches. They come to college, they think that's the way it's going to be there. I hear that in some of my individual sports. Management has to teach and create a feeling of family somehow. That when we win, you're rewarded. Somehow we have to get that team concept built in. I think it's important to recognize when someone has success, and I think it's, something I at times overlook. You take things for granted. You just go about your day-to-day business. You forget to tell somebody, attaboy. As a coach, we built it into our makeup that, during the tough times, the two-a-days, when guys are grinding and you're just moving, just trying to get through your practices and get so much to do, and you're confined in one area for a long period of time, you reward a lot of different things when someone's giving effort. Same thing we try to do in the athletic department. Show some appreciation when people do a good job. And it doesn't take much. It doesn't take a lot of money to say thank you. I spoke at Northwest Mutual a couple years ago, and the thing I noticed, I was talking to the top 1% of their salespeople, and their reward for being in the top 1% was a blue and white ribbon. Probably cost them a couple pennies, but that ribbon was really important to them. I remember talking to a group, a manufacturing company in Black Earth, and they had a safety award was given to a truck driver from Alabama. He's there, comes up to the stage, he's got bib overalls on, he gets a plaque. He starts crying. I'm sitting with the president, I said, that guy will take a bullet for you. For a $5 plaque, that's important to him. That means something to him. So it doesn't take much to tell people that are under you, nice job, put a picture up, give them anything to say you did a good job, reward performance. I think this, anytime you compete, I don't care if you're in sales, you're in sports, I want my team to feel as though they have an edge. I want you to feel as though you have an edge over your opponent. Somehow, every week I'd come up with some edge. If we play Ohio State, I would tell my guys on Sundays, listen, we've been practicing. This isn't just a 1 week that we play Ohio State. We built this whole program on beating Ohio State. Everything we do in this program is designed to beat Ohio State, because you have to beat them in Michigan to win the league. And we play physical, and we play a brand of ball. So it's not just this next 5 days of preparation. We've been doing this all year. You got an advantage. They haven't been preparing for us. And we had a very good record against them. I think one of the greatest examples, and a couple of you, as we were visiting the last 2 days, brought up when we played in Tokyo. If you remember, back in 1993, we have a chance to go to the Rose Bowl for the first time in 31 years. We have one game left, play Michigan State, play Michigan State. If we beat them, we go to the Rose Bowl. And we're going to play them in Tokyo, Japan. So in preparation, I got with our trainer, found out that someone on our campus worked with astronauts. And they can turn your body clock back 2 hours a day. 2 hours a day. And it has to do with light and dark. So we set up a schedule. I went out and bought them sunglasses first, gave every kid a pair of sunglasses. Last 2 hours of the day, you wear the sunglasses today. You stay up 2 hours later. You sleep 2 hours later. Tomorrow, you put the sunglasses on for 4 hours. We practice 2 hours later. You stay up 2 more hours later, and you work that for 4 days. We're going to knock 8 hours off of our body clocks. And you know what? Michigan State doesn't know anything about this. So the last day, we practiced like from 9 to 11 at night. We went to a midnight movie. After the movie, we drove to Chicago. We got there very, very early in the morning. I can't sleep. Told them, you can't sleep during this time. We get there about 4 in the morning. Now you can go to sleep. We're going to get up. We're going to go get on a plane with Michigan State. Okay? And you can't sleep on the flight. We're going to fly about 12 hours, and you can't sleep. Bring books, bring reading material, whatever you want, but you can't sleep. About halfway over, I see our guys. We had a lot of them up, we were in a 747. They're up above, and you see them walking down. Michigan State was in the second compartment. They peel back that curtain and they look, and here's Michigan State. They had one guy sleeping, laying on the 3 seats across, one on the floor, sleeping down the aisle. Every person was dead asleep in there. They're sprawled all over. My guys are giggling and laughing, running back up the steps. Hell, we won that game halfway over there. They had an edge. And we got there the next day, we went to sleep. We landed, we went to sleep. We got up, I said, now you're right on Tokyo time. You haven't missed a day. And it's going to take them 3 days to figure it out. So that's giving your team an advantage. I think one of the things that a good coach, a great coach, has to do, a great leader has to know, is you have to have a feel for your team. Know when to push. Know when to back off. Know when to give them a hug. There's never been a book ever written that tells you when to do that. You have to feel it. You have to observe it as a leader. You have to take some cues. I go talk, when I was a high school coach, I'd go ask the custodian. They know everything. Go ask the custodian, how the kids feel. What are they saying? Now I go see the equipment manager. His office, he hands out equipment. He's right in the locker room with the players. He's invisible. They don't know he's there, but he hears everything. The voice in the locker room is the most important. What's the trainer say? The guy that's taping their ankles, and as the guys are talking, the strength coach, are they tired? They feel good? What do we need? We need to push them a little bit. We got anybody grumbling in the locker room? All those things are important. You can do the same thing in any organization. What's the voice? What do I need to do as a leader to adjust things and maximize? You know, each year, as we go through, as we start a year, I do the same thing. I try to have a theme for every year as I address all my staff. What's the theme this year? So last summer, I was trying to decide a theme for this past year, and one of my administrators said, Coach, I think a good one would be embrace change. Embrace change. We all go through change. Everybody's afraid of change. Embrace change. And how we came up with that, that's what I told our players when our football coach left a year ago last January. You know, I'll give you a little background. I'm in New York. I just finished. I'm on the college football playoff committee, and that was an 8-week grind. And then into New York for the Hall of Fame, and I get a call from Gary Anderson, says, I'm leaving. I'm going to Oregon State. You got to be kidding me. I'm stuck in New York. I said, you're supposed to meet with the players. Don't meet with the players till I get there. I get on the airplane, and I'm going through my head, what do I have to do? I've got a short list of head coaches. I make 2 calls on my way to the airplane to alert a couple coaches and see if they're interested. I don't have a pen. Now I got to get a list of things that I've got to get done when I get there. What am I going to talk to the team about? So I borrow a pen from the stewardess. I take the throw-up bag, and that's what I had to write on. That's all I had. So I'm putting a list. What do I have to talk to the team about? You know, what do I have to get done within the next day or two? Got a press conference the next day in Tampa. We're playing in the Outback Bowl. So I get there, I go in, I talk to Coach Anderson. He reaffirms what he's going to say. I said, okay, let's go in and see the team. He walks in and tells the team, this is never easy. I've taken another job. I love you. I'll do anything for you. I'll be packing up between 11:30 and 12 tomorrow. If you want to see me, stop by and say goodbye. Then he walks out. That's my intro. Not as good as yours, Tim. That's my introduction. So I go up, I look, you got 120 guys there. The guys in front, they sit seniors, juniors, sophomores, freshmen are in the back. The seniors, they're sitting there, they got a sour look on their face. Juniors, they don't care. Sophomores are a little rattled. Freshmen are in a panic. You know, and so I had to get across to him a few things. Number one, I said, don't be afraid. First thing I said to him, don't be afraid of change. You're going to go through change the rest of your life. You're going to have change in your personal life. You're going to have change in your job. You're always going to have to deal with change. You don't always have to be in that comfort zone. Trust me, I will hire you a great coach. And I promise you, we'll have a good bowl experience. Okay? So, when I finished with him, every kid in that room came up and gave me a hug. And I look and I see the seniors convene. They come over and, Coach, we want you to coach. We want you to coach the game. I said, nah, I don't feel comfortable doing that this time. You know, we did it 2 years ago at the Rose Bowl. Didn't work out like I thought. I really didn't engage myself like I should have. I learned a little bit. So they said, no, sleep on it. They're not taking no for an answer. So I'm driving home and I'm thinking to myself, why am I in this business? Why are we all in this business? It's about the kids. It's about doing this for the kids. I happen to have a grandson on the team. He almost didn't come to Wisconsin because he doesn't want anybody to know he's my grandson. And I appreciate that. He doesn't want anybody to think he's getting any favoritism or anything else, which he doesn't. And so I picked up the phone as I'm going home, and before I go home, and I said, Joe, seniors want me to coach his team. What do you think? He said, I think it'd be great, Grandpa. Besides that, we need a little swagger on the sidelines. I said, I can do that. I don't know if I can coach, but I can give you a little swagger on the sidelines. So I took it. So the first thing I told the guys met with me the next morning. I said, I'll coach his team, but understand this. I'm going to get more engaged. I see some things that I don't like. I want you to understand that understand, they just got beat 59-0 by Ohio State. I said, I've got to get confidence back in their head. This is going back to giving them an edge. You're not that team. I've had that. When that happens, I just throw that film away. I said, this has happened to me over my career, not many times, but every once in a while you get beat badly. But I want you to remember 3 games. The 3 games prior to that, you're in the round robin, really. You played Iowa, Minnesota, and Nebraska for the right to play in the championship game. You beat all 3. You earned that right, and you didn't play very well in that championship game. But I want the other team back. But I'm going to change how we practice. I don't like the way you practiced. I thought they were too short. I don't think they were very physical. We're going back to an inside drill to get ourselves prepared to be more physical, to play against a very good Auburn team. We're going to change how we lifted weights. We've got one cycle that we can get in. We've got about 3.5 weeks before we play the game. I want to start lifting heavier weights to get you stronger, to prepare you to play 4 quarters in a physical game. And I'm going to give you a game plan. They'll give you a chance to win. And this is what we're going to do. And I told them what we were going to do. And as we practiced, they weren't very, and we're going to condition more because I didn't think you were in very good conditioning to finish the season. Well, long story short, you know how the game played out. The game plan that we gave them worked. We win the game in overtime. The guys they'll always remember that as embracing change. I've heard my grandson say it talking. He kind of mimics me a lot. So I hear that, embrace change, you know. But I don't think, had I gone through those things and given them the idea that they can win, and this is how you're going to win, I don't think they go in there and win that game. And I think they learned a life lesson. That's something that they'll carry for a long time. So those are some of the things that I believe in, some of the things that I've used in some as a coach and also as an athletic director running our athletic program. Those are the principles that I've built my thing on. So I'm going to open it up for any questions that you have, before we wrap things up. So, questions that you might have. And we've got a microphone that.
Thank you very much for the inspiring presentation. I'd like to ask about this procedure of voice, of listening to your athletes. And you were talking about listening to the facilities directors and all that to understand what the athletes are feeling and thinking. What do you think about listening to social media in terms of understanding the voice of the athletes? Do you think that social media, Twitter, Facebook, and all that, looking at the pages of the individuals that you're directing, will that help you obtain this voice?
I would say no, and I'll tell you why. Because it's too easy to, when you're faceless, I don't think there could be some, I don't know how honest it would be. And I'll be honest with you, I don't get on Twitter. I know that all of that social media is important in our society, and if I were coaching today, I would be on it. I'd be on it for recruiting, and I'd be on it to find out different things, and I'd be on it probably more than anything else to communicate with the players. But I like the human element. I like the fact that somebody hears the players and tells me directly. I'm not reading it in social media. And I may be a little bit backward on that, but I like the interpersonal touch and feel of that.
Thank you for sharing your experience and expertise with us this morning. I have two questions. Question number one is, given where you are as the Director of Athletics, who or what inspires you? And then secondly, given your vast experience with football on various levels, how should we be thinking about concussions in your opinion?
That's a good question. Who inspires me or who inspired me?
How about both?
You want it all. I idolized my college coach, Bob Devaney at Nebraska, and I patterned my whole career after his. I loved the way he coached. He was way ahead of the times when he coached. I loved him as a person. He ended up taking over both jobs at Nebraska, athletic director and head football. And then gave up football and stayed as the athletic director. So that inspired me to go to the direction in my career. What inspires me today, you know what, I thrive to be good. I want the things around me to be good and to work to be great. When I take a football team, I want them to be able to compete with anybody. I take an athletic program, I want those kids to know that they're going to be treated well as anybody, and they're going to have a chance to win, and they're going to compete and represent us in a very classy manner, and I want them to have success. That drives me, and I'm always trying to look for best practices so that we can get better. So when you talk about top schools in the country and the way things should be done, the University of Wisconsin is mentioned.
Thank you very much for your remarks. Quick question as it relates to culture. You talked about deciphering culture as it relates to the things that you saw. How did you decipher culture as a new athletic director in the things that you heard or the way people's actions were that maybe you couldn't see?
Could I have one of these? Go ahead. Can you hear me if I'm not here? Can you all hear me? If I want to hear, I hear from all over as an athlete. You're talking about as an athletic director. How do I respond? there may be a department. I've got big ears. And as I talk to people, and whether it be department heads, I talk to people, I try to visit with people around campus. If I hear something, somebody's not happy with something, or somebody's complaining, or that we have an issue, things aren't being run properly, I go to the root of it. What's the problem? I go to whoever's in charge. We have an issue here. Why? And how can we improve this? Let's address it. And it can happen in any area. It could be how a secretary addressed somebody, how someone responded to one of our fans who called in about tickets, and they weren't very happy. It might be someone at the training table that isn't up to the standard, I think. It's just in being pleasant with the athletes or the coaches. So it could be a lot of different things, and I think you just find the root of the problem, then you address it and try to get it better. Those are just some of the examples. Okay.
You said you had 26 varsity sports, right?
23.
23, okay. Baseball, club sport. Who decides what's club sport and what's your actually varsity sports?
Yeah. Our athletic department, I inherited 23. I inherited 23 sports, and our athletic department determines which sports we have. In 1991, we dropped baseball, and we dropped baseball, and we dropped fencing, and we dropped gymnastics. We have added women's hockey. So we haven't added or deleted any sports since then. But the club sport is on their own. That's run through the university. That doesn't have anything to do with us. But we determine that. Any other questions?
Yeah, in your own career, why did you choose football over baseball?
That's really a good question. Better question than most of you think, because I was a hell of a baseball player. Because actually, I chose it because I got better at football, and I knew I had I could have a future in football. Football could pay for my education. And I hurt my arm. So I knew I wouldn't be a very good baseball player, although I could hit pretty well.
I was wondering if you could share with us, with unlimited resources, which nobody really has, when budget crunches come, how does the athletic compare to the scholastic, like at Madison and other colleges you interact with, as far as budget issues with athletics versus academic issues?
Yeah. Well, as you know, well, you don't know, but the state budget, our university has been cut severely. When they're cut severely, my chancellor comes to me for more help. We've been fortunate. We've operated in the black since I've been the athletic director. We operate in the black in the Big Ten Conference. Our commissioner's done a tremendous job with our TV contracts. The Big Ten Network has been very successful and kicks in about $8 million a year per school. When you're selling out in football and you're selling out in basketball, football is about 80% of your revenue. We're fortunate that we operate in the black. We've been able to stay up with building and staying up facility-wise with everyone else. But that also means that we have to give back to campus. So to give you an example, in the past 12 months, our athletic department has given back $8 million to campus. Our chancellor asks, and we have it available, and we move it to campus. So we try to be good partners. I don't want to be, I just want to be smart about it. We can't hurt the athletic department, but when we can give back and still operate in the black and not have to severely hurt our budgets for the 23 sports, then we'll continue to do it.
We have time for a couple more questions. Anybody else?
All right, being a successful coach, you got to have a successful supporting staff under you. So how did you go, like, picking all the coaches that, you know, you coached, that coach with you?
Okay. What I did, I tried to find, when I took the job, I always kept the short list. You know, I knew I was going to take, I could have taken a head job the year before when I was at Notre Dame, but I had a daughter that was going to be a senior in high school. I never wanted to uproot my kids before their senior year in high school. So I stayed an additional year. I knew I was going to get a head job. So I kept track of people that I liked to hire. I went after people that I knew would work hard and cared about kids. I knew there were 2 guys on the Iowa staff that I respected, were great recruiters, very good coaches, and really embraced their players. I wanted them with me. They were the first 2 that I hired. I used to recruit in Chicago, and Illinois had 3 very young coaches. And I worked hard, and I'd get up early, and one of their cards is always be at that high school before I got there. Now, it was 3 against 1, but I knew they were working. And I liked the way they were good recruiters. And as I got to know them, they were very good coaches. 2 of them ended up being NFL head coaches. So I hired them. So to answer your question, I look for guys as I'm out recruiting and I'm coaching and I'm watching film. I see somebody that's doing it better than anybody else, or somebody that works really hard in recruiting. Those are the guys that I hired. And I had a couple that didn't come from that type of background, and they couldn't keep up. They couldn't keep up with us our first 2 years, and I ended up having to let them go. So I just talked to a forum a few weeks ago, and that's one of the suggestions. I said, listen, you know, you get a job, you work as hard as you can, you focus on that job. And people, if you do it well enough, people will recognize you, and that's how you move up in the business. You don't get a job and start looking for your next job and forget about the one you have. You'll never get that next job. Don't worry about the next job. Do the one you have well enough that people will recognize it. Yes, Judge.
Coach, earlier you mentioned being in a situation where a year in you had to suddenly replace a football coach, which I'm sure was a surprise. And yet that's a sort of thing that we're seeing more often today. And it's certainly not just coaches, it's entire programs. Before I was at St. Norbert, I was at the University of Maryland, and the University of Maryland's a lot of great things, including an ACC school, not a Big Ten school. I don't care how long, we go along. So I just wonder, and players in the pros, going obviously for the best deals. I think we all understand why, but what do you think about it? I mean, it's a new day. Are you okay with it? Is it just the way it is? Or, you strike me as a little bit old school in the best sense.
Yeah, I am old school.
What do you think about that?
I can live with it. I think people have to look after themselves. If a player is a 19-year-old high school basketball player and he has the ability to move on and earn a living and help his family playing basketball, I'm all for him. That's no different than somebody that comes out of Silicon Valley that can handle computers and leaves Stanford before he graduates and goes out and starts a company. I can live with that. I'd like for it to, if I had the perfect world, I'd like to be able to support them somehow so that they could live the rest of their lives and they could manage their money and they could manage society a little bit better. As far as coaches, it bothers me. It looks like a money grab. I think maybe sometimes I was at fault, or not at fault. I'm maybe loyal to a fault. I wasn't worrying about the money. I liked the job. I liked what I was doing. And you see guys are That's the way our business is right now. The money some of the conferences are offering, they take the Southeast Conference, we average 24 schools in the Big Ten, they average 16. You figure $2 million a year, or $2 million a year that you lose for everything other than football and basketball. And you can see they're taking that money goes into salaries, paying coaches salaries, and you want to keep good coaches, do you get in I don't want to get in a contest and do that. My philosophy is there are a lot of good coaches out there. We have to go find good coaches, and we have a great place. People want to live with us or live in Madison and work for us. It's a good quality of life. So I'm bothered by it a little bit, but I understand it. Yes.
Hi, Coach. I just wanted to ask you a question. I work in the Center for Career and Professional Development, and I wanted your thoughts on athletes and scholastics. How have you seen students who come to play for the sport or come to learn and then play the sport? What do you see as a difference, and what do you look for in recruiting?
I see both. I see athletes that come to play athletics, but I happen to be one of those. And after about 2 years, I said, you know what, I'm getting pretty close to a degree. I've really got interested in school. So I think it works both ways. At our place, we're going to have that. You're going to have a hockey player, you're going to have some basketball players, you're going to have some football players come in there because they play sports, and school comes along with that. But we can't hide them. I see some places that hide them and keep them eligible, which is sad. So somewhere along the line, you want them to take the bit and say, learning isn't bad. And this is something that I've got a future. And that's our job, is to teach them and give them vision and help them grow so that when they do finish up, the athletics has helped them tremendously. Yet, they're going to go further because of academics.
Last question right here, Coach.
Hi. A lot of athletic programs are losing money. Is there any suggestions you have to help sort of minimize some of the costs of athletics at the university level?
I think that's an individual problem. I think if you look at your assets, you look at what you can afford, and you run a program at that level, and you don't try to keep up with, if you're a mid-major, and try to keep up with, one of a Big Ten school, and with the budgets that we have, because you can't afford it. You don't have the TV contracts that allow you to do that. So you live with what your budget is, and don't go over that, and work within that, and understand who you are. I think that's important. You're not all going to play. It's not a level playing field when it comes to that. If you're playing, if you have a small stadium, you're not filling it, you don't have TV contracts because of your conference, you can't expect to have the same budget as someone in the Southeast Conference or the Big Ten or Big 12, whatever. So I just, you're in charge of your program. This is what you can manage. Just stay within that. I think it's pretty basic stuff.
Let's hear it for Barry Alvarez.
Thank you.
Thanks much, Coach, for your insights today. I'd also like to offer a special thanks to Paul Mashall, the Director of the Theater Facilities here, for his help in arranging today's keynote address and for his other assistance with the conference. I have a few reminders for our conference participants. Our first 4 concurrent sessions runs from 10:30 until 11:45 in the Bemis International Center. One change to the concurrent session is a cancellation of a paper, Understanding Student Attendance, a Spotlight on Texas Athletics by Joe Nemuth. That paper was scheduled for 10:30 in concurrent session 1A. Lunch today is at noon in the Hendrickson Dining Room, which is also in the Bemis International Center. After lunch, we have 3 more concurrent sessions, followed by a networking reception at 5:30, and then dinner at 6:30, both of which take place in the Hendrickson Dining Room. And finally, sign up for the shuttle to and from Lambeau Field will be at the guest relations table located in Bemis next to the Hendrickson Dining Room, which is a popular spot apparently. So thank you all for attending our session this morning, and we'll see the conference participants at lunch.